Hi guys! In today's video we'll be doing this Coraline inspired doll. Since so many of you guys really enjoyed my recent Other Mother doll, I really hope you enjoy the Coraline to go along with it. I chose to make her in my favorite outfit from the movie, which is the dark sweater with the stars on it, but you can choose one of the other outfits if you like. For the first time ever, I chose to work on an Ever After High doll, which I bought second hand a while ago. And I chose it specifically because the face shape is rounder and more like Coraline's than that of a Monster High. As usual, I start by removing the original hair and also the factory paint of the face. Oh, and a quick little disclaimer, I realized as I was editing this video that I forgot to paint on her nail polish. I believe she has blue nail polish on in the movie, and I forgot, so be sure to do that somewhere along the process. Once the face is all clean, you want to give it a prime with the Mr. Super Clear spray before moving on to the repaint, where I use my watercolor pencils and some chalk pastel. Firstly, I used a brown pencil to sketch on the features, and I went for the look she had in one of the promotional pictures for the movie, where she had this kind of sideways sassy smirk, which I thought was really cool. And I really like the character designs from this movie because they're all a bit quirky and crooked. For instance, she has most of the time a crooked smile, which I try to emulate, and also she has a crooked nose, which I think is just so cute. So I also end up adding a really large shadow on one side of her nose, using the shading to kind of try to, you know, fake to have that kind of crooked nose. Once I was happy with the basic features, I used my watercolor pencils to block in the different colors. In this first layers, the color is never that opaque, but don't worry, we'll be building it up later. And this is the first layer done. Then I gave it another spray of Mr. Super Clear, allowed it to dry, and then worked on top. And I repeat a lot of the same steps in the different layers, especially blocking in the colors. And here in the beginning, you can see, because I work on one side of the face to begin with, the difference between the first and the second layer just in color. And this was the second layer. I stuck to pencils in this layer as well, but in this next layer I started using chalk pastel to add in the shading. The first shading is kind of subtle on the camera, you could see it better than real life, but that's how it is. It's just a deeper skin tone than the dolls, and I used this to kind of map out the general shading using the reference picture that I had to see where the shading needed to go, and it just helped to add shape to the face. And then I went in with pencils again and defined what we did before. At this point I wanted to save my progress, so I sprayed again before starting to add deeper shading. To deepen the shading and add more shape, I use brown chalk pastel, but I do it very lightly and build it up so I don't end up adding too much. In this final layer, I add things like the more harsh shading, where I will use my pencils at the base and then fade it out using chalk pastel, and also adding in the white highlights of the eyes and also shading of the eyes. Once you're happy with the look of the face, give it the final seal and put it aside to dry. Meanwhile, let's work on the outfit. I used a kitchen film and tape method to make the pattern for the pants. After transferring the two pattern pieces onto paper, I straighten out both pant legs. I use some black stretchy fabric for the pants, trace out my pattern pieces onto them and cut them out with a bit of seam allowance, and then I place the two pieces right sides together and sew the outer edge. Do the same for the other pant leg, then place the two pant legs right sides together and sew down the curves, then place them front and back together and then sew down up the pant legs. I make the basic pattern for the sweater using the same method and trace the pieces onto paper so it's easier to see. And for the main fabric for the sweater, I actually used a blue sock that I had a hole in it. So after washing it, I set it aside for this and cut out the front and back pieces and sewed them together right sides by the shoulder seam. Then you want to cut two pieces, one for each sleeve, place them on the right position by the sweater and sew them on. Once you got the sleeves on, you just want to place the sweater right sides together and sew down the side of the sleeve and the side of the sweater. Hem all the edges and add a collar by taking a piece of the trim from the sock and sewing this in place around the neckline. Mix together some acrylic paint or use fabric paint if you have, and then paint on the stars. And there we are. I accessorized with a pair of recycled Monster High shoes, which I painted blue. Now back to the head. Because Coraline has a very flat top of her head, the doll's head is just too big since it's almost a complete circle. So I'm going to cut away a bit of the forehead, being very careful not to push or crinkle the head because you don't want to break the seal of the spray from before. Once that's gone, we're going to need to make her a new top of her head. So I covered the head with a piece of kitchen film, then I used some blue canvas fabric and glued this on top to make a kind of almost wig cap. While that's drying, we can prepare the hair. I use some 100% acrylic blue yarn, which I cut into equal strands and then brush out. And once it's all poofy and fluffy, I use a hair straightener to straighten it and make it into nice looking doll hair. Once the cap is dry, remove it from the film and then glue it in place on top of the head. Then we can start gluing on the hair in sections. I cut each section of hair to the right length after I glue it on, just so it wouldn't get, too thick of a layer to cut later, and which is easier to do this way, I feel. Once we get to the part you want to glue the hair in the opposite direction you want it to lace, you can flip it over. Once all the hair is on, you want to push it down with a piece of kitchen film and keep it there for a little while so the hair will flatten out a little bit and not be poofy. Meanwhile, we can make a little hairpiece. I used a little nail dangle charm thingy and glued some extra rhinestones onto it. Finally, I added a tiny bit of glaze to the eyes, and then she's done. And here she is. I hope you guys enjoy my little take on the character. I was trying to be quite accurate, but it is a little hard when you're trying to paint a character's face on top of a doll that has different features, but I think she turned out okay. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in a new one real soon. Bye!